energy, everything is energy, everything. That comes from that book, The Secret, that came out as a big hit, you know, in the New Age folks a few years back. And that's actually true. We are all energy. You know, Einstein explained to us that E equals mc squared. You can take mass and energy and they're the same thing. They make space-time curve upon itself. They make rocks fall. They make gravity. They make everything. You are a piece of this energy that is what the universe is made of. And we actually call it quantum vacuum energy fluctuations. You don't have to remember that. Just remember that there's this energy that makes up the universe. It's the Legos that the universe is put together of. Well, you're built with the same Legos. You are a piece of all these Legos. So somebody a long time ago had a big box of Legos and decided to spread them all out and make a bunch of stuff with it here and there. And so that's kind of what happened. And that's what you are. And I always like to, I'm also a science fiction writer, so I also like to follow back on sort of my science fiction roots. If you remember from The Phantom Menace, one of the things that Qui-Gon Jinn tells Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first one is to remember that his focus determines his reality. Always remember that, he says to Obi-Wan. Well, that's what I'm going to get at here in just a minute because of this connectedness that we have with the universe. Einstein hit on it. He realized that your imagination is everything and it's the preview to all your coming attractions. Well, that's really interesting. What was he trying to tell us there? Einstein knew a lot of really cool things. Maybe he was on to something. And even as far back as a few thousand years ago, Buddha thought that all that we are is a result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. That's a key thing. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. Well, there's another aspect of this too. Size matters not. You know, Yoda was very true in that, you know, judge him by his size, do you? Well, the universe itself is really freaking big. Right? I'll tell people about a galaxy. Our galaxy alone has 400 billion stars in it. Okay? Our galaxy is kind of mediocre. It's average. It's run-of-the-mill. There are estimated 10 to the 22 stars in the known universe. I always love that when scientists say that, in the known universe. Well, really, our technology limits us to see any further than that and to understand the universe any further than that. The universe could be possibly much bigger, much larger. We don't know. We're doing experiments to try and figure that out, but there are at least 10 to the 22 stars. That means a 1 and 22 zeros. That's a heck of a lot of stars. And remember, we're all connected to them. They're all part of us. We're made of the stuff that the stars are made of, that empty space is made of, the whole universe, everything is made of. That's what we're all part of. That's what we are. And you know what? That tells you something. Anybody that wants to scare you and tell you there's not enough of this or that, we're going to run out tomorrow, the world's coming to an end, that's full of crap, right? There's 10 to the 22 stars in our universe. There's plenty of stuff in this universe, okay? So don't fall for that philosophy that we're going to run out of stuff. There's plenty of it. So now this brings me to cats. I don't know. It was after the ball game, Alabama lost. I was hoping we'd get another national championship, you know, 3 years in a row in the state. So I was kind of depressed. I was thinking about killing cats. Erwin Schrödinger had this idea when he came up with this equation in quantum physics. He said, you can write an equation that describes everything with a wave function, this thing we call a quantum wave function. I call them QWIFs for short, and that's what I'm going to say, and you know I'm saying quantum wave function. Well, a lot of people didn't like this quantum wave function stuff. They said, if this mathematics is true, it can describe everything in the universe, and it's really weird until you actually observe it, and you know if it's in this state or that state, it's both at the same time. And so I have an experiment. Some famous scientist said back in the 1910, 20, 30s, in that time frame, and they still argue about it today. So they said, let's take a cat and shove it in a box, and let's put a little quantum event in there, and when the quantum event goes off, it's a 50-50 chance, like flipping a coin. If it happens, it breaks a vial of poison gas and it kills the cat. If it doesn't happen, the cat's just fine. But you can use no instruments that can peer through the box to know if the cat's alive or dead. Well, then according to you, Mr. Schrödinger, and according to you, Mr. Niels Bohr, another famous scientist, this equation you have tells us that that cat is both alive and dead at the same time. What malarkey! No, it's not. We've actually proven it experimentally, not with cats, but with atoms and other things. It's absolutely true. The cat is alive and it is dead at the same time. There are physicists that will argue with you and say, no, it's the observation or some other things. Well, those physicists were a little bit misguided through graduate school. We've actually experimentally, within the last year, verified that the Copenhagen interpretation of modern physics, meaning the cat is alive and dead at the same time in the box, is true. It's an experimental, verified fact. Now, and scientists will tell you, well, light is it's a particle, or light is a wave, or maybe it's this particle-wave duality thing that they'll teach you about in graduate school. And then you'll even get Nobel Prize winners like Richard Feynman. He'll come out in one of his books, QED, he says, light is particles in the story. I won a Nobel Prize and I can play the bongos, so it has to be true. Well, turns out, any scientist that says something is a fact, any scientist that tells you this is a fact, they're a bunch of liars, they're arrogant, and they're wrong. Right? Now that's a fact. Well, it turns out everything that we say from a physics or mathematical standpoint is our interpretation of what we're seeing in the universe. Things in the universe are what they are. Light is not a particle. Light is not a wave. Light is not some duality, some nonsense thing. Light is light, right? And with each generation of scientists, we're going to come up with a new theory that tells us what it is. And that's a key that you got to get in your head to realize that the universe is the universe. What we use to describe it is just simply a tool to help us understand it as best we can. And this is an experiment. It's a famous experiment where they take a single piece of light and they put it through two slits. And interestingly enough, if light were a particle, uh-oh, my mic died. Hello, there we go. Came on. Everybody stay cool. We got it. All right. So if light were a particle, then it would go through and it would make a bunch of dots and it would just look like a big random mishmash of dots. If it were a wave, you would get a really nice bunch of fringe patterns, these light and dark sequences. It looks like a little wave on there. Well, it turns out you get both. You get the dots and you get a little wave pattern. And the reason for this is light's something else. Light is light. It's not a wave. It's not a particle. It's like this box. Is it a box? Everybody see the box? I thought it was a piece of paper with lines drawn on it when I did it. No, is there a side open? Which side? I don't know. That's what I'm talking about. The universe is whatever the universe is, and everybody that looks at that sees something different. The universe is going to be what you see. And now it comes down to something a little more crazy. We're all part of the universe, remember? We're all a part of it. And a lot of scientists, neurologists, and people argue for years, centuries, that the brain works as a neural network. A neural network, wow, it's really a bunch of classical ideas that work together, and the more connections you make, you're going to get Skynet, and it's going to make all the machines come up and kill us all. Well, it turns out we've recently sort of discovered, there's a few scientists that will argue this till they're blue in the face, and I'm one of them, that the brain is not a neural network. It actually is a quantum computer. It works through quantum physics, and it follows the rules of quantum physics. And the rules of quantum physics are much more different than the rules of neural networks. And the thing about it is, when you look at the brain and you see how it works, there are these things in there, these little proteins called tubulins. And the tubulins can actually trap an electron in an up or down spin state at the same time. Ooh, just like Schrodinger's cat. Well, that suggests that what we have is a system that is a quantum computer. And that's okay. Maybe it is. All right, let's assume it is for a little bit. So what that tells us is your brain is a quantum computer. If your brain is a quantum computer, then in case this goes out again, I can use that. Ooh, can I get some reverb going and play some Hendrix up in here? Yeah. So anyway, hey, that's louder even. Wow, that's crazy. So your brain is a quantum computer. If that's the case, then every thought that you have is working through the laws of quantum physics. And it turns out the way quantum physics works is you can take events that are coupled with each other. An event that happens here, an event that happens there, whatever. If they were somehow ever quantum coupled, they interact with each other instantaneously across the universe no matter what distance. Einstein hated this, but we've recently proved that that's the case. So think about that. If you have a thought, your brain is setting up some quantum wave function that is interacting with the entire universe all at once. That's kind of heavy if you ask me. So is this thing going to work again now? All right. And so here's how it works. Quantum computers don't work like regular computers. Regular computers do a dictionary search to find the answer to a problem. Okay, they go through all the possibilities to give you the answer. Quantum computer doesn't. A quantum computer says, what's the question? So in this case, your eyes see something. And it sets up, here's what I see in a wave function. And then it compares that quantum wave function to all the other quantum wave functions in the database, your brain. And instantaneously in quantum physics, like things stay, unlike things go away. So boom, all the things that are not what you just saw disappeared, and the thing that is appears in your mind, and you realize, oh, I just saw a pretty cool race car. And so that's how a quantum computer works. And that's how our brains work. And I'll show you that right now. Who sees a triangle? And who sees a square or a rectangle? Man, I drew a perfect square. Anybody see it? Anybody see it? No, you don't. It's not there. There's a bunch of red Pac-Man. What happened? And you saw it instantaneously when you saw it, didn't you? Yeah, you did, because your brain just did a quantum reduction. We call it orchestrated objective reduction. And what just happened is your brain said, boom, this is what's in my eyes, okay? I've got to compare it to all my database. And it goes and instantaneously compared to everything in your database using the laws of quantum physics. And what came out of it was a triangle in red Pac-Man and a rectangle in red Pac-Man. Well, because that's what it closely correlated to. It's not exact, because quantum physics is you compare this ripple with that ripple, and the ripples that are closest together is what you see or experience as reality. This is a simple test to show that your brain doesn't use neural networks. And so what we are is we're floating around in this quantum sea of the universe, where everything in the universe is once was this little bitty teeny tiny quantum wave functions. Now it's a big one from the inside out anyway. And we're connected to it with everything we do, with every thought we have. Everything we think is going out there into the universe. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. All right? Well, so control your thoughts. That's what it's telling you. Control your thoughts. Because what you're thinking is interacting with the entire universe the instant you think it. Wow. That's even more crazy. It makes me want to put a tinfoil hat on my head or something. So let me tell you, setting up your thoughts is pretty important. To set your thoughts up with visualization, with pictures. Because think about sending an email. If you just send text, not a lot of data. If you send a little picture, it's more data. If you send some audio, it's more data. If you send a video, it's more data. So the bigger you can make your thoughts, the more interaction it's going to have with the universe. So think about, if you want to create a change and affect a change in the universe, then you need to visualize and think about the really big things and focus on it being big things. I did this with my daughter about a few years back. My daughter came to me and said, Dad, I want a swimming pool. I said, well, get a job. She was like 4. And so I said, well, okay, draw a picture of it and think about having a swimming pool. She actually took me serious on that, and she drew out a picture of a swimming pool on a piece of construction paper, and she looked at it, and every night when I tell her a story, she'd say, Dad, I'm thinking about swimming in that swimming pool. And it's really weird that in November, when the royalty checks come in, I got more money than usual, and my wife and I said, hey, we could have a pool. And so my daughter's convinced this works. So one more thing with another focus. I decided I was going to build an Iron Man suit. Didn't know how, didn't know who was going to pay for it. I managed to get some folks wanting me to do it on TV. And I showed them this picture. Well, this thing, I stayed with it. Started looking a little bit like that. Stayed with it. Looks a little more like that. And then I stayed with it till it finally ended up like that, and it was fully bulletproof from head to toe. I could curl a full beer keg with one arm. I mean, what do you need an Iron Man suit for if you can't curl a beer keg with it? I mean, there you go. Well, all right. So then, if you're working on it really, really hard and you think it's really, really hard work, it really ain't. It's not work if it's worth it, right? And when things go wrong, don't worry about it. Stuff will blow up on you. Stay with it. Keep moving forward. And you know what? You might get somewhere a lot further than you would think you would. And so finally, leave you some thoughts that I like to live by. What are you sending to the universe right now with your quantum computer up here, right? Well, first, remember, the universe doesn't care if you try to do something because you really only did it or you didn't. There is no try. There's only do or do not. So don't tell me you're going to go try something. I don't want to hear it. Go do it. Go do it, right? And remember, you create everything you do as you go along. Winston Churchill had it. Einstein had it. And one of the really things I like to remember is nobody's out to get me. It was a really cool Guns N' Roses song, but I like to think that the universe is conspiring for me, right? The universe is conspiring for me. So y'all keep that in mind. And, hey, watch Rocket City Rednecks on National Geographic Channel. We're going to blow stuff up and hopefully not kill ourselves. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.